Fan of the show? Never miss an episode by subscribing to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or at our website, cinemapsychoshow.com. Be sure to like us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Psycho Show. I don't know if this film would be nearly as successful if they did show the killer, you know? I also think that us not knowing who the killer is, and because it leaves you the whole time watching the movie going like, all right, could it be Peter? Could it be the other boyfriend who's in there? Could it be the cop? We don't know. And honestly, that keeping you guessing the whole time, you know, that's part of the ride. You know, that's part of why this movie is successful. That's why it keeps you on the edge of your seat, because you keep thinking to yourself, okay, it's got to be somebody in this, and ultimately, I think it's none of them. I don't think it's anyone who's actually introduced as the male character. I think that's the beauty of it, is that it could just be anybody.
Oh, goody, goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh, my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Brian, John, and Elaine.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Condon, joined by my fellow co-hosts and filmmakers, John and Elaine Woolscroft. Let's transfer this over, and let's hope this doesn't break.
Welcome, one and all, to the show that never ends. Step inside, step inside.
Step inside, step inside.
Congratulations, guys. 200 episodes.
I
knew?
know, right?
Very exciting.
Now, yeah.
And we do about one a year, so that just took us 200 years.
It's so doable.
We were immortal.
We're
Great
immortal.
schedule.
Right on schedule. Immortal. Yeah. First of all, live streaming sucks. I'm going to say that.
Thank you, Brian. That's a very chipper way to start.
Live
It's Christmassy.
is terrible. It. You know what? It's very 2020. Let's just put it that way. Live streaming is very 2020. If you get that, you kind of understand. Making this live stream was not fun. Like you probably noticed, and I really hope that it's working. I don't know if it's going to work. This might just be us talking into the void. But right now we were running into problems with YouTube. The Facebook link that I know we all kind of sent out wasn't working. Fun times.
Wait, people actually listen to this?
Yeah.
The shit I said?
It makes up for me not listening to you.
Yeah, I know. So, for episode 200, what do we got? Oh, I might want to mention
Black
first.
Christmas.
We do have a chat. So
Black
if you're, so I've already seen some people in our chat, which is awesome.
Yay! That's awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, please chat away.
Yeah, chat away. Ask us questions. If you something about Black Christmas, in the course of this episode, you're like, wow, that you were wrong. You can actually tell us that we're wrong.
You were damn right.
Or we were damn right. You can actually tell us, yeah, you were damn right, or no, you guys were terrible, wrong, and I'm never going to listen to you again. I'm unsubscribe. Please don't.
Especially
do
you,
that.
Lane.
Especially.
Hey.
Yeah. But anyway, so we've got a chat feature. We're going to be jumping to it over the course of this episode. It's this extra long episode. So we've got a couple tricks up our sleeve for this one. One, the fact that we have video for this is the big one, and then on top of that, we talk about Black Christmas today.
Yes, Black Christmas.
Black
as you
Christmas.
Can see. And
arguably,
look, a rotary phone.
What?
Wonder what that's
Rotary.
there for. Yeah.
What could that be?
Who knows?
Who knows? But
yeah, we got a couple of fun surprises, some games, a little. Basically, brought out the real knish, the big time.
The big time.
But yeah, I think, guys, here real quick before we get too far into it, I think we should acknowledge the fact that we're on 200 episodes, and I remember Brian reaching out to Lane and myself and saying, hey, do you guys want to do a podcast? And I thought, I've never listened to a podcast in my life. I don't know what the hell that entails.
You know what's funny? You know what's entirely funny about that whole thing? that particular memory, really rings true, because I remember exactly when I asked you and when I asked you, Lane, about the podcast. It was at your 30th birthday, and
Oh wow!
It was right after we had watched Birdemic at the Hollywood Theater in Dormont when it actually was cool. If you're familiar with
Or
Hollywood
open.
Theater when it was open, but more or less when it was cool. And I remember that we went to Tom's Diner afterwards, and first time I had been to Tom's Diner in a long time. And I remember John was sitting next to you and Lane, and I was like, so I got this idea. I want to do a podcast. And it really would just be kind of us bullshitting about movies.
Yeah, you kind of put me at ease with that too, because you're like, John, just do what we always did in class.
Well, that was
Just
the thing.
Just talk a lot, make dirty jokes, and talk about movies. I'm like,
Exactly.
I can do that.
Like
Be
that
John.
was the thing. Yeah, just the same conversations that we had when we were in grad school. Just do that, and that it ended up working. I think it really did. We're 200 episodes deep. I never would have thought we would have gotten to 200 episodes. I didn't think we would get to 100.
Which is available in our archives if you want to listen to our Plan 9 from Outer Space episode, which
I think
was
it's-
actually live, unlike this year where we had to get creative.
I mean, it's who we are to kind of do a project and try our best to do it well. We haven't always been able to put out an episode a week, but we've been
Tried.
damn close.
Got real close. It was funny. I before we kind of started today, I had to pick up my stepson, and I was telling him about the live stream and telling him about podcasts, and he was like, so do you put out an episode like every week? How do you do that? Do you record it at the same time and then you put it out? So I literally, on the drive home from picking him up from his dad's, I was like, yeah, we do this and we that, and we batch record, and we're doing a live stream tonight. You might actually be watching. I'm not entirely sure. I did mark that it was for people 18 years and older, so I doubt he will be on there. But Kieran, if you are,
Make him
get
want to
off
be on
the
even
line.
more.
But my point is, like, he was really like intrigued about the idea of creating a podcast and even doing the live stream and that whole thing, and it just kind of kept going for the whole drive home. But
Well, this is so unique to us, but like young people, it's just part of life,
yeah, like I mean, I find the design of this stuff fun. I don't find doing this whole remote thing fun, because like for me, you all know this. I don't screw around in terms of quality. If I'm going to put something out, it's going to be good. We did that in grad school too, and the show is no different. A lot of time and effort goes into it. John, you kind of come up with our shows for the entire year. Lane, you bring a lot for the social media and getting it out there, and then just the coming together we do it once a month. We were batch record stuff, or twice a month to get stuff out, and it's a lot, and 200 episodes in, we still strong.
But what are we doing today, guys? What is our
So, yeah.
200th episode?
Once again,
Black Christmas.
we're talking about the perennial
We talked about that.
holiday classic, Black Christmas. Yes. And this is, I'd say, the first. Some has argued the first slasher movie. I don't really think that that's necessarily fair, but I would say this is the first holiday themed horror movie. And this kind of introduced when you opened the door for like April Fool's Day, New Year's Evil,
Yeah.
My Bloody Valentine, and of course Halloween.
I do think there are quite a few contributions to the genre, though. A lot of people do say this is the first slasher movie because it predates Halloween.
Yep.
And there are elements in this film that you can see in other slasher movies, that classic murderer's POV shot.
Mm-hmm.
That's just good filmmaking. That's cutting your costs right there.
Definitely.
But it's a convention now, and I think this is one of the places it started.
Brian, quick side note here. I know we're live, but we need an adjustment. You're coming in a little low, I think, apparently. Some folks.
How about
I don't know
now?
if you're able to turn your audio up.
How about now? Is that better?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. You're coming in louder here.
Okay.
John and I are so
I mean,
loud. We don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
But this is from Bob Clark, who most people know from A Christmas Story. So apparently this guy likes twisted and thoughtful Christmas. But it's it's interesting that this movie doesn't get more notoriety as one of the first of the what I call like the 70s slashers. You know, everybody gives that to Carpenter, who John Carpenter actually met with Bob Clark, and he asked him, "Hey, would you ever make a sequel to Black Christmas?" And he said, "Yeah, that might be fun." And he said, "Well, what would you do with it?" He said, "Well, I'd base it around Halloween, probably in the same sorority house. You know, just a bunch of women in danger from a mass killer, from a POV kind of shot, kind of a shape, and I would do it that way." And John Carpenter went, "Excuse me," and then jumped through the window and went right to a typewriter and stole the idea.
I mean, might as well. I mean, if that works.
But so obviously this has become a cult classic over the years. Critics weren't great to it at first. It made a decent amount of money in theaters, but this became one of those like hugely successful movies on VHS, Laserdisc, DVD, Blu-ray, download. So it's become a huge cult classic. And this time of year, I thought, why not? Let's jump right into Black Christmas. So.
Definitely,
it's also one of my favorites.
If you hear me typing, so I mentioned how YouTube was kind of broken on the way, so I'm trying to get the link out. Kind of so I did not disappear. I'm here. I'm listening, just trying to publicize as much as possible. But Black Christmas for me, honestly, like I'll be honest with you guys, I was never a gigantic fan. I kind of made that, when we did the Scrooged episode, I mentioned that, Scrooge for me was kind of like, that was the consolation prize. It isn't that I hate Black Christmas. I actually have a lot of appreciation for it. And, we watched it together last year at your guys' house for kind of like a Christmas party. And, when we all watch a movie together, we're never actually really watching it. It's more like riff tracks. We're not really watching it. So like I remember watching, I remember some scenes about it, but I don't exactly remember, all the details. So watching it again, it like filled in a lot of the gaps. And I have a little bit more appreciation for it now after watching it again. So it's still not my favorite. I'm still a Hellraiser and Freddy Krueger fan. That is kind of my wheelhouse. This was kind of
that's
like
not fair.
That's not fair.
No,
actually, it is fair.
Horror movies, like Freddy's obviously going to win.
Well, yeah, but no. My point is that I have more of appreciation for this particular film because of a lot of firsts. I know, John, you said you don't think it's necessarily the first slasher film. I kind of disagree. I kind of disagree on that, and we'll get into that, in a minute.
I have detailed notes.
You have detailed notes.
Yeah. But yeah, I got into Christmas horror movies because obviously I love the irony of the season. Up to like the wholesome stuff too, but obviously anything to pervert the holiday is going to be intriguing to me. So I got into Christmas horror themed Santa killer movies, but just Christmas horror movies in general. And to me, this is the top mark. This is the best that you get, because most of them are, now don't get me wrong, enjoyably stupid. Like Silent Night, Deadly Night, and
that's just fun.
And some of them are just watchable. But yeah, I try to watch as many as I can. If there's any reference to Christmas in a horror movie, I watch them this time of year. But this one actually, I thought, this is actually really good. It has its problems like any movie, but it's compared to some of the other movies out there. Like there was a lot of quality that went into that. And, it's Bob Clark directing, which, I think is pretty good. So, but yeah, and I don't think anything will ever live up to Black Christmas, including its 2 horrible remakes. But Lane, Lane, did I introduce this movie?
Did you introduce what?
Did you see this movie first with me?
Oh, I think we did see it together for the first time. And sorry, it probably seems ludicrous that I asked you to repeat yourself, but John comes in a repeating loop, and it's actually kind of hard to hear what he's saying on my end.
Oh,
don't out our technical glitches.
2 Johns. It's
don't
terrifying.
Out our technical glitches.
It's only on our end. They can't hear it. Whatever.
And they might. Who knows?
I do think you introduced me to this, but I was aware of it previous to you showing it to me. Did we watch it in college or after?
After.
We've been together so damn long, it all runs together. But I really connected with this movie because I thought a lot of the themes for the time were quite good. I do like, as we will talk about in a little bit, I like that Jess wants to make her own choices and the B plot that's going on in the background of all the murder. But I think it's a good example of a character who has other things in the background that are kind of informing her character. So I've been a fan. I made you watch both the remakes.
I have not seen the second remake. Don't do it.
No,
don't do it.
I can't. That's going to be a whole new episode. John and I went last weekend.
Yeah, maybe a pantheon of other shit. We'll do it next Christmas.
I don't know that 2006 remake was god awful. I saw it in the theaters. It was bad.
It's not even that it's bad. It's just that it's so inaccurate. And I'm ashamed that a woman directed and 2 women wrote it. It's horrible.
Ugh. Oy.
I have strong thoughts and feelings.
Strong thoughts and feelings. Oh, man.
I do believe we kind of...
Oh! Who could that be?
Phone call. A phone call. Hello? Hold on.
Hi, guys. I'm Eva Habermann. I'm an actress from Germany. And I'm also starring in Cyst. Cyst is a very gross horror movie that will be coming out next year. And, of course, my character has to deal with all the pus spraying from the cysts. And that is quite disgusting. But you'll see. Yeah. I wanted to congratulate you to the 200th episode of the Cinema Psycho Show. I'm very excited about it, and I'm definitely wanting to see 200 more, right? Take care.
Well, that was nice.
That was lovely, wasn't it?
How did that happen?
Not at all.
Yeah, I thought it was
insane.
It was actually
that was really nice.
Well, hopefully we don't get any more interruptions on this phone.
What?
Ahoy, ahoy.
Hey guys, it's Chris Lemke. I was just calling in to say how much I'm enjoying the show. I love Black Christmas, and it's a great pick for your 200th episode spectacular. As always, you guys are fun and informative when you're breaking down these films. John, you did cross the line back there pretty hard, and I think you know what I'm talking about, and you should feel ashamed of yourself. Anyway, I love your podcast as much as I love you guys as people, and that's what makes it so much fun and why we as fans have gravitated for 200 episodes to go along with you on this ride. I can't wait to see what's coming up next, and I wish you all the very, very, very best, and I can't wait to see a movie with you guys when this all blows over. Be well, everybody. Congratulations.
Well, that was nice.
That
was so nice.
This would have been a completely different movie if they had all been positive calls that came in. Maybe they would have called it a White Christmas, and they could have sung and danced and had a great old time in Vermont. I don't know. That's an idea.
Anyway, next messages from Ava and Chris both.
Yeah, Chris Lemke, Geek, and Ava Haberman, who from The Lex and many, many other movies that you can check out. So yeah, thank you guys so much for calling in and your feelings here on the show. But I'm sure that's the last. But we're not going to get any more phone calls tonight.
No, that's it. That's it. Why would we get creepy phone calls from celebrities and fans? No creepy phone calls. So John, I gotta ask, since you're kind of our resident stat technician, I guess that's the word for it, a resident stat technician. Do you got some stats on Black Christmas?
Drop some knowledge, son.
Yin's guys want to check out some stats in that.
Yeah, all right. Some stats in that.
Let's jump into it. Do we have the bumper up?
Yeah, it's up.
All right, cool. Ryan's on it. All right,
I'm on it.
Black Christmas was originally titled Silent Night, Even Night. Well, I should say even before that, the script was entitled Stop Me, written by Roy Moore. Hold up, not that Roy Moore. Don't worry, not the guy who can't go to the mall.
No.
Creeps out the little girls. But the writer, Roy Moore. But yes, it was originally titled Stop Me, and then it became Silent Night, Evil Night. But it was actually Bob Clark that came up with the name Black Christmas. Obviously, the play on, I was joking about earlier, White Christmas. because obviously this is the polar opposite of that film. But in many markets, it did play at Silent Night, Evil Night, because I think a lot of distributors were afraid that it was going to come off as a blaxploitation movie.
Oh,
so like
that
Blackula.
makes sense.
So something along those lines. So yeah,
it's that Blackula is a good movie. I really like Blackula.
It is good. I like it. But yeah, this is Canadian film, buddy. So Lane, your people.
Your people.
Yeah,
It's true.
two people. Yeah, so it's from Canada. It opened October 11th, 1974. This movie was made on a budget of $620,000, not adjusted for inflation. That's in 1974 money or 73 money when they're actually shooting it.
Yeah, I heard that's about like $600,000 now.
Yeah, and it made $4.1 million. So if you take the budgeting into account, there's probably another 200,000, 250. So it definitely turned a profit there. It's based on the old calls coming from inside the house, the urban legend. There's so many variations on that. There's the caller is coming from the house and the kids have been killed, or if it's more positive, she gets the kids out, or there's like a clown in the corner of the kids' room and she calls the parents, and it's like, that clown in the kids' room, it's really creeping me out. She goes, the kids don't have a clown. Oh, done.
Why do you have to bring clowns into this?
Why did you bring clowns into this?
Sure.
Yeah, but the movie stars Olivia Hussey as our lead, who thanks for never getting back to me, Olivia. That was one of my surprises.
Did you actually try to reach out to her?
Yeah, she never answered me.
I'm sorry, have you met John?
Yes.
Of course
Yes, I have met John.
Of course he did.
Keir Dullea, who was actually known for 2001: A Space Odyssey, is in this film here as one of the cops. We got a really great role, Margot Kidder playing Barr. I think she kind of steals the show here.
Oh man, I got so much comments about Margot Kidder in this movie. Man,
I mean, after Superman, this is kind of what she's really known for. I feel,
I mean, outside of personal life stuff, but yes, you're correct.
in a career sense, we have John I'm a cop forever Saxon.
The poor guy. I feel so bad for him. He literally, and I mentioned this kind of like in the Facebook post that I put, I'm like, forever cop, John Saxon. Poor guy. He peaked at his Bruce Lee movies. That's literally it. Cause he was in, I think he was in Enter the Dragon. And, but he was, he did Kung Fu movies and he just always gets put as the cop. Like,
he's got that very like stern, bold, noble face. It makes sense to me.
Well, I think it's the hair. Like he's got like that comb over thing, and you just look at him, and you're just like, yeah, that's a detective right there.
Yeah. But yeah, he actually was not the first choice. He actually had to replace Edmund O'Brien, who was going through Alzheimer's at the time, and it just wasn't working. So they rushed him in at the very last second. I think John Saxon took the role, flew in, and with 2 days they started shooting. So there was no pre-production for John Saxon. Like, just welcome on board.
Welcome aboard. You're not doing any martial arts in this. You're just going to be a cop, hard-nosed detective.
Hard-nosed cop. But the role of Andrea, who reached out to that actress as well, she turned me down. But the role was originally offered to Gilda Radner, but she had to turn it down because she went up doing some variety show in New York City on Saturdays. I can't remember what it's called. I'm sure it didn't last very long. The film was directed by Bob Clark, as we mentioned earlier. Obviously, he's known for Christmas Story, so they plays every Christmas Eve, Christmas 3,000 times in a row. Quick math. But so. That's like kind of it does have an edge. Christmas Story is much more of like a saccharine kind of movie. So it's interesting.
It is, but it's good. It's not bad. It's just it is what it is.
I think it's interesting to see both sides of the spectrum, especially for something like Christmas, so I'm just going to assume it's for people who do celebrate, because I know there's a ton of end of year holidays that are not Christian. But for something like Christmas, there's a lot of pressure I think for it to be like A Christmas Story in the way that, ultimately Ralphie gets what he wants, right? And there's like magic in that. This is definitely the opposite of that.
Pretty much.
I mean, if you think about it from the standpoint of, does the killer get what he wants? And the answer is yes.
We're not sure because the ending's ambiguous.
Maybe murder is his Red Rider BB.
No. He got what he wanted.
So, fun fact, and I think this will surprise most people, but John is definitely A Christmas Story, and I'm Black Christmas. If it was up to me, second Halloween. Christmas is fine.
Oh, you mean as people?
As humans. Yeah. I thought that would surprise people.
I hear you suggest that I don't love Halloween.
John is
I'm Scrooged. That's me.
No, I know he says appalling things, but John is definitely Body the Elf.
I mean, listen. I've seen your home around Christmas time. I got to figure that is a lot of.
Everyone's seeing our home.
No. But I mean, but what I mean by that is I know that when you guys go hard for Christmas or Halloween, I imagine one of you is taking the lead on that. So is it right to assume that John is kind of the lead on Christmas and Lane, you're the lead on Halloween?
I'm a lazy sack of shit. I just enjoy it at Halloween more when he gets all of the stuff done.
Okay, fair enough.
But the movie here was penned by Canadian screenwriter Roy Moore, who, as I mentioned, was originally entitled "Stop Me." Now Moore claimed to be inspired by a series of murders that actually happened around the holiday season in the Westmount area of Montreal. So maybe, as noted in the article for the Telegraph, the murderers which occurred in 1943 were perpetrated by a 14-year-old boy who bludgeoned several of his family members to death.
Listen, people in the 70s, they just let people in their house. They leave their windows unlocked.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They make fun of us, our generation for what we're doing wrong. But I'll tell you what, someone comes to my door and I'm like, what do you want? Go away.
Well, now if they come to my door without a mask on, it's go away. Go away. 6 feet. Go back.
Guys. People didn't think that Ted Bundy could be a murderer because he was handsome.
That's so stupid. That's so dumb.
People are murderers, but it was they had a little bit of a rewrite on the script, because it was Bob Clark who thought that the script was kind of missing out on more fleshed out female characters. He was the one that put it at a Christmas setting. And he wanted to institute some of that Bob Clark raunchy humor in there that every one of his movies, including Christmas Story, has. And a lot of other elements, like the Miss Mac character being the head of the sorority.
She was like the den mother.
Den mother, yeah.
Well, sorority mom, that was the thing. You guys know that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, her being a drunk, Bob Clark based that on his aunt. So,
I got to say, and I'm sure we'll talk about more of this in depth, but Mrs. Mack is her and Barb are like the standout characters in this thing. Every scene that they're in. Every scene. Yeah, I know. Did you get that out of the toilet?
Cheers.
See, I am waiting until we're supposed to crack our champagne. You guys are already starting. What the hell's up with that?
He's drinking beer. I'm drinking rosé.
Okay, fine. Fine.
But yeah, as Bob Clark said that in American film, notes are fun. Clark felt that college and high school students had not been depicted with any sense of reality in American film, and that he intended to capture the astuteness of young adults. College students, even in 1974, are astute people. They are not fools. So.
I don't know if I agree with his depiction of young adults, though. I gotta say, even though he says that,
I'd say they're all probably half right and half wrong. It depends on, I knew a lot of extremely intellectual people in college, and then I would go to a frat party.
Well, right. But what I'm saying is I don't know anyone who would act the way that Barb did in front of police no matter how drunk. Like, she literally is just like taking it to an 11, which isn't bad for the movie's sake. You know, it makes sense for the movie's sake, but I just know that, you know, if he's saying I want this to be realistic, a realistic depiction of, you know, young adults, I don't know if I buy that with at least, you know, Barb's character. I do see that a little bit with Olivia Hussey's character, especially with dealing with some of the stuff that she's going through. But I don't know about the other characters so much.
Well, don't forget, if you're worried about the way she acted in front of the cops, the drinking age is different in Canada now.
Oh.
I mean, I think it was. I know my dad was older, as far as dads go. But
he was older.
when he was growing up in New York. The drinking age was like 18.
Yeah,
wow.
Certain states did have 18 back in the day before it kind of became 21.
It just depended. Each state was different back in the day.
Oh, and by the way, guys, I said Kier's name wrong. I pronounced his last name incorrectly, and Lane, your mom called me the fuck out.
Good. You deserve to be called out. My mom is really smart, and I love her so much.
Speaking of
Happy Rarson.
Well, I was going to say, you know, speaking of people calling us out, do you want to take a little second, you know, while we're doing this and kind of jump to some of our chat? Because we got a chat going on, folks.
Oh,
we got a
your
chat.
are all over the chat in YouTube. YouTube.
What was that?
YouTube. Your
the YouTubes.
All in YouTube.
Give me a chance to refill.
Yeah. All right. Let me. We're going to jump over to that. So, boom. We're now in our chat. So let's take a look at some of the comments we got here. Okay, from some of our friends. Okay, so let's see here. So Kieran Gaming, again, Kieran, you should not be on here. Is saying hi. Say hi, please. So hi, please.
Hi, please.
Hi, please.
Jennifer Woolscroft says child of the 70s here, no helmet, seatbelts, no nothing.
Cousin Jenny. Hi.
Cousin Jenny. Kathy Wilson also agrees with me that Scrooged is amazing.
Right? It's my mom's favorite.
Love that movie.
She loves it.
Yeah. Culture Vulture says happy 200th. Haven't seen Black Christmas yet. Not worried about spoilers, but the Black Mirror episode with the same namesake is my favorite Black Mirror episode.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that one actually is pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Daring Ewing's also commented on this. He said, hi, gang. I'm on a quick break. Happy holidays.
Yeah, he popped in those.
Hey, nice, Darren.
Yeah, let's see. We got some new ones here. So,
did you shout out to Kate McCabe? I saw my girl Kate McCabe. And
yes, she did come in here. Caitlin O'Connell also said, "Love Yins."
Yay, love Yins.
Yeah, and we got all the good ones here. We got Bob Ray, Antoinette Marie, all the good ones here.
I'm just feeling the love all over my.
Feeling so much love. It's so nice.
You're feeling so much
shower of love on my face. You know,
the shower of love on your.
Yeah,
that sounds really bad.
Salty, but it feels so warm and so good.
It does. It does, doesn't it?
It's just how John was made, guys. Either you're in or you're not.
Oh.
Oh.
Speaking of which,
who could this be?
It's the ringing.
Hey, Brian, John Lane, it's George Hardy from Troll 2, and you can't piss on hospitality. I won't allow it. Hey,
he won't allow it.
And some new films, Cyst, Texas Cotton, Under Control, and Here Comes Rusty. And congratulations, you guys, 200. Oh, my God. Let's go for 200 more.
Wow.
Got it, George.
Wow. Holy crap.
George, that's so nice.
Yeah. Troll 2's George Hardy called us up. What the hell?
So good.
Fuck.
You know, I mean, these calls are coming in spontaneously, but I reached out to him to take the veil away, and we ended up talking for like 25
Take the veil away? You're supposed to say that at the end of the episode, not in the middle of it.
Just like to say the mystery is also just gone.
I'm sure the phone will ring again.
Nah.
It's like I called on it. When will they?
Hey, this is Travis Ayers, producer of the upcoming horror comedy Cyst, which stars George Hardy, Eva Haberman, and Greg Sestero. Although Porky's 2, The Next Day, is my favorite Bob Clark film, shout out to Dan Monahan, Black Christmas is a very close second, which is not only the essential Christmas horror film, it features my absolute favorite movie cat, Claude. I'd like to congratulate the Cinema Psychos on hitting the 200 episode mark, and hopefully there will be an episode 316 that will focus on the films of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Love you guys.
Stone Cold.
Well, you've been called out. You got to do now. Yeah.
Shout out to Travis on the 2019 Black Christmas. There's a cat in it too, and I was like, "Oh, there's still a cat."
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Yes, a couple of more quick notes here because I want to keep us moving here. This film actually came out before Halloween. You would think that it'd come out at Christmas time, but I guess they wanted to capture that horror audience. It did okay in New York and Chicago. It did decent in LA. It sent out to 70 theaters and it did average, but it ended up being pulled right before Christmas because weirdly, like around Christmas time is when you get like a lot of the award season stuff and not actual Christmas movies.
Yep.
You know, but interestingly enough, this film when it came out for like television, it was under the title "Stranger in the House." It was set to make its network debut on January 28, 1978, but it had to be delayed for 2 weeks because the Chi Omega sorority house on the campus of Florida State University was the scene of a double murder. 2 Chi Omega sisters asleep in their beds were bludgeoned to death. The killer then went on
That's bad timing.
The sorority house and violently attacked 2 more sleeping co-eds who survived. The killer was later identified as Ted Bundy.
That was Christmassy.
Oh.
So yeah, that was after he had already escaped from prison. So I don't know. I guess maybe he saw this movie.
Probably.
But let me ask you guys a question here.
Sure.
So we mentioned the first true slasher. Brian, you said you think it is. Lane,
yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Do I think it's a true slasher?
No, first true slasher.
Oh, first true slasher? I think as much as it can be without the genre even being defined. It didn't exist yet, right? And I feel like you need more than one film to create a genre.
I don't know. I guess for me, the kind of the reason why I think that this is the first true slasher mainly has to do with the fact that this one started the tropes. Okay, so it started a lot of the tropes. I mean, you could make the argument that Psycho is the first true slasher, and I think, John, you're probably in that camp of Psycho is the first true slasher.
Purist.
Well, to be in we have the Cat Canary in 1927 and 13.
Oh, you jerk!
You saying "well" actually literally makes me want to cry.
You film toi. So, but my point is that I think if you look at Black Christmas, a lot of the things that a lot of people consider Halloween kind of the first true slasher film to start off that genre, because everything else kind of followed off of it. I think if you take out the idea of the killer having to wear a mask and that kind of idea that kind of came about with Michael Myers and Jason, then if you strip just that element away, everything inside of Halloween is literally pulled directly from Black Christmas. The whole POV shots, the idea alone that the monster is somewhere in your neighborhood, that it's not necessarily, a demon, or at this time period, 1974, you would have had movies like The Exorcist. Well, that came out in 76, but you would have had movies that were kind of supernatural in their kind of thinking. Rosemary's Baby being one of them, Exorcist, The Omen. These sorts of movies, they still played on the idea of the monster or whatever is in your neighborhood. It's the kid next door. It's, that weird kid with the weird haircut. Talk about The Omen. But what Black Christmas does is it doesn't personify it with anybody. It's just another force of nature. Okay. And we're seeing it through the force of nature's eyes. And that is literally the archetype for Michael Myers in Halloween. The way that people are killed in this movie is also artfully done and is very reminiscent of later slasher films. That's kind of why I think that This is the first true slasher, and Psycho really isn't. I kind of view Psycho as more of a thriller with a mystery element in it, you know. And yeah, you do have that famous shower scene, but it doesn't feel to me like a true slasher in the word. I think honestly, Black Christmas kind of establishes the archetype.
I think you're right, Brian, especially with that shot of the villain's POV. That's what I keep coming back to. I think that's such a strong visual element in a lot of slasher movies that come out later. And I think what's also fascinating about this film is that we were still, as a society, trying to figure out the psychology behind murder. A lot of times we kind of followed the Jessica Fletcher Crime of Passion handbook, where we thought that all murder needed a reason.
Yeah.
And that's not true. During this, concurrently, we had someone like Ted Bundy who just couldn't help himself. And these crimes were kind of being defined, and the psychology was being built from the ground up. I think about Mindhunter. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the show. Mm-hmm. The book's also excellent, but the show kind of takes place more in the 80s. But the actual FBI agent that this is based on takes his work in the 70s as well. That's kind of where he started.
Yeah.
And so combining those ideals with having this film where someone just kills for no reason. I mean, kills because of trauma, and that's its own psychology. That's something that was new at the time. People didn't really understand that.
And then just to fill out the rest of them, we had Bay of Blood in 71. And this year as well, we had Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974 as well.
Still haven't seen it.
But,
never?
Too scary. No thanks.
Yeah, she does not want to see it.
Oh, come on. Too scary?
I don't know. It just seems like it's going to look like a snuff film and I'm going to die. I don't know.
It's not. It's not at all.
When it's scary for the film. I got Chinese food when I rewatched it again, and that was a mistake. The eating.
No one likes the intro.
Yeah, here's the thing about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I know this isn't necessarily about Black Christmas, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I love that movie because it's got a texture to it. I mean, it actually hits you on all five senses, four senses. But it hits you on all the senses. You can kind of taste everything that's happening. That's in the film. The look of it is dingy and gross, and I don't think it's not a snuff film. It isn't. It's kind of marketed as such, but it isn't. And in fact, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of the rare films that people think is really gory and really bloody, but honestly, not that bad. Not
Interesting.
That bad. It's all editing tricks.
I think it's the 16 millimeter where it just would look too
real for you. No, fair enough.
All right, guys, let's move on to a little bit of our next section, Black Christmas trivia. I mean, I would love to keep the things going here. I could be here all night, absolutely, but I know you two will, and I know our audience.
No.
So
you all hostage.
I'm going to read off a couple of these here. The audio for the demented phone calls was edited and filmed during post-production. While shooting the footage, the actors were actually responding to Bob Clark on the camera, kind of improving these calls, and that's what they were responding to.
It's interesting.
The snow scene outside the sorority house was fake because they had a surprisingly little snowfall during filming. It seems like this happens in every movie. When historically it snowed like crazy, but then it didn't. Like Fargo, Home Alone. Anyways, so they had to create the fake snow, and actually the grass came back greener than ever before the following spring.
Of course,
this is apparently Elvis Presley's favorite Christmas movie.
Whose?
Really?
Elvis Presley. And,
wow.
It was a tradition actually at Graceland for him to watch this, have a big screening of it every year. Probably on a projector back then. Unfortunately, only for 3 years until he passed away. But yeah, it was his favorite Christmas movie.
Isn't he in Christmas movies? Is Blue Hawaii a Christmas movie?
Yeah. I mean, kind of. I guess so.
Well, hey, man,
Fun fact: my mother and uncle set the oven on fire during Blue Hawaii one Christmas. Hi, Mom.
Okay.
Really?
More explanation in the chat.
Making Yorkshire pudding for me.
Oh,
My fault.
You know, this was considered to be the first slasher ever, but to put the audience in the POV, that was actually Peeping Tom in 1960. Was one of the first times it was done this and then popularized by Halloween.
of course.
During an interview with director Bob Clark, Olivia Hussey said that she decided to take the role based on the advice given her by a psychic. She's kind of a weird.
Okay.
That's weird.
According to Clark, Hussey said her psychic believed the film would be successful and a wise career choice for her, so she took the role. The same psychic, I believe, also told her that she would, if she followed her, she would marry Paul McCartney. So this is a few things that she believes.
Did that didn't happen, right?
No.
Okay. I was gonna say I'm not familiar enough with Paul McCartney to know his, relationship, track record, but I'm assuming that didn't happen.
Ooh, Psycho's trivia. John and Ringo Starr share a birthday.
Whoa.
Indeed. One of us is more famous than the other. Sorry about it, Ringo. The role of Peter was originally offered to Malcolm McDowell, but he turned it down, and boy, did he kick himself in the ass over that. He's admitted.
Oh, man.
Times. Yeah.
I was going to say, Malcolm McDowell would have been great in this.
Nobody in this film portraying a teenager was actually remotely near teenage age.
You don't say. I was going to say, Margot looks like she's had a little City Miles by the time that she's playing a teenager.
City Miles is kind.
No, what I mean by that is just like she looks like she's in her mid-20s. She doesn't look like she is in her college age years at that point.
Listen, on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I'm pretty sure Charisma Carpenter was like 28 playing a high schooler.
You know what? The same thing happened in what the hell movie was it? John, we've talked about this one.
It's really
Starship
common.
Troopers.
Yeah.
Starship Troopers. No one looks their age in that. They all look like they're 30.
Well, Keir was 38 years old, and Lynn Griffin and Olivia Hussey were the closest to their age by 22 and 23, respectively.
Yeah.
Let me see here. The story that Margot Kidder tells about people don't know. I can hear a repeat in my ear. So
Me too. I can hear myself, and I feel like I'm speaking strangely.
When you talk about sea turtles banging for days on end or 3 days straight, that's actually the sea turtle. She's not lying. That's actually science.
Wow.
And as I mentioned, these were based on real life killings, and including one a man by the name of Wayne Bowden, who killed 3 women in Montreal between October 1969 to January 1970, and he was known as the vampire rapist. So
the vampire rapist.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that Canadians murder seems off-brand.
It seems off-brand.
Nick Moncaso is the voice, the disembodied voice. When he auditioned for Bob Clark made him go into the corner and stare at the wall while delivering his lines. It was kind of an unorthodox audition, but obviously Bob Clark, I think, was trying to get the idea of his disembodied voice. And after seeing the film, the studio demanded that Bob Clark change the ending. But Bob Clark stuck to his guns, and we got the ending that we did. There is a count of 8 people that we had in here, including possibly Jess, Olivia Hussey, our main character. So that's open for debate. That's our trivia, folks.
That's good stuff.
I think it's neat. Like I said, I'm having a really bad loop. One of the things I think is most interesting that John shared with me, because he's just made himself an expert on all this. John doesn't mess around. One of the things that I think is interesting about the film is this is one of the first times they were able to shoot on set inside of a real house. Did you mention anything about that? I'm sorry. I am having a hard time
bringing
hearing
that up. Yeah, we need to acknowledge the fact that a lot of things have changed in Hollywood. that you can actually shoot on locations, because the house, the sorority house, is actually just a mansion. And they reached out to people and asked, like, can we shoot at the outside and the inside of your house? And they said, yeah, sure. You know, we're going to go summer in the Hamptons, or a holiday in the Hamptons. Or probably something like that. So they had full range in the house. But back in the day, cameras were so heavy, and the machines that you had to cover up the audio grinding, because audio machines, they made a horrible whirling noise, which is so ridiculous because they're there to capture audio. You often had to put a box on top of them that weighed countless amounts of weight in order to block that sound out. So they had to shoot them on studio lots out of necessity, even more so than.
And two,
you know,
can we just sit with that for a second? Because I don't know if Brian's stepsons, Kieran and Connor, I don't know if you guys are still watching, but you're of a generation that doesn't know any other world than one where you can film something on your phone. And I have mine sitting right here. Like, look how small it is. It's so compact, and it creates this amazing image and picks up audio really well. I think that having the technology inform filmmaking in decades past, I think that's so fascinating. This is the first time really they were able to film somewhere because they were able to go on location without a sound set because the technology allowed them to do so. I feel like we need to sit with that for a minute.
They had smaller cameras. They had smaller lights. They had, lighter machines to cover the audio.
The audio machines weren't making hideous sounds.
Well, I mean, even if you remember, like, I remember us being in grad school and we got a visit from Russ Streiner and John Russo of Night of Living Dead fame, and it was interesting to hear them talk about how they made Night of Living Dead. You know, that's 1968. Probably they filmed it in 1967, 1966 maybe. And, they're talking about the amount of equipment that they needed to be able to, just shoot on location in Evans City Cemetery and shoot in that area there. They had to have a giant blimp thing to kind of hold in the sound because of the fact that, it would pick up everything, So those sorts of technology, even in the 60s, when we kind of envision that as kind of the moment when you get more independent cinema as we kind of know it, with like the French New Wave and, movies like Night of the Living Dead, that it still wasn't quite where we are at now. And that really Black Christmas is one of those first films that takes advantage of that leap in technology, where things are small enough that you can start to make movies for as little as what is now, the budget of this was $600,000. Right, if we look at it in terms of money today. And that's a extremely, extremely low cost for a film. Whether it's Canadian or not.
Absolutely.
By today's standards, it's not. It's ridiculously low. So, I mean, most people consider a $1 million budget film to be a low budget.
I don't even think you can make a modern movie for $1 million anymore.
Yeah.
That's below even indie budget.
Depends on what we're talking about here, guys, too.
But I just wanted to say I think it's fascinating that technology can really inform what you're able to do. And obviously this wasn't necessarily a super independent film, but that's what we always come back to, I think, on the show, because we're independent filmmakers and working within your constraints, working with your limitations. It's a pretty familiar theme.
Definitely.
But having technology open you up to new things, I think that's so interesting, because there's so many stories you can tell, but when you have a certain amount of technology, and if it opens you up to tell that story even better, I think that's really cool. And you can see that here. Having the audio equipment, I think, is the biggest thing for Black Christmas, because they were able to be in that mansion without any constraints of the sound.
Definitely.
Oh my God. Speaking of sound.
What's up, everybody? This is Rick Harper, the director of the fabled Tommy Wiseau documentary Roomful of Spoons. I want to give a big shout out to the Cinema Cycles podcast. 200 episodes. What a milestone. I've been a fan of you guys since we met and did episode 83 together. To this day, that stands as one of the funner podcasts that I've ever done. Brian, John, Lane, I consider you personal friends of mine. I hope you have 200 more episodes queued up and ready to rock for us. We fucking love you. Peace.
Wow.
That was so nice.
That was really nice.
Awesome,
Man.
awesome.
Rick
Yeah,
was
Harper.
awesome. Rick was
We
awesome.
had such a
having
great
the show.
talk with him, didn't we?
Well,
I feel like we could talk about the room all day long.
Well, what was nice about his
what he had to go through.
Well, that was the thing. Was what was nice about his the conversation we had with him. Go back to our back catalog. It's episode, I think you said 83.
83.
And the way that we got that interview, I'd seen an article that he had posted talking about the fact that he was basically being sued by Tommy Wiseau, and that the injunction on that had been lifted. So he can now publicly talk about this. You know, I had heard about his documentary from you guys because you were you had already pre-ordered it. You know,
I backed that Kickstarter.
Yeah.
When I saw someone had done a documentary on Tommy Wiseau and the room and had extra information. I mean, have you met John?
Yeah. Yeah. But the fact that we got this, honestly, it feels almost episodic in his description of how his relationship with Tommy went from being kind of a fan to being kind of part of his inner circle to then, you know, being challenged by that as he's trying to make this documentary and ultimately getting to the point where he's being sued by someone who he considered not only he was a fan of, but then became a friend with. That whole situation just is crazy.
Yeah,
and it was like we were on the edge of our seats listening to him when we did that interview.
It was a good time.
Yeah.
It was a good episode. 83.
Definitely.
Check it out.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, another one.
Yeah, probably a telemarketer or something. Hello.
Hello, Brian, Lane, and John. It is IWC professional wrestler and the longest reigning IWC high-stakes champion of all time, RC Dupree. And I'm calling the Cinema Psycho Show. Psychos. Well, from one psycho to another, I would just like to wish you guys a congratulations on 200 episodes. That is no easy feat, and that is even longer than my title reign. Now, I'm looking quite forward to you guys reviewing Black Christmas, the original Black Christmas, not that remake, that garbage remake from when I was in high school. Now, with that being said, I'm going to quit being a chatterbox, and let's get back to the show.
Wow.
Nice shout out from the eccentric artist.
RC Dupree, the eccentric artist.
I still find that amazing that he was completely in character for that.
Hey.
What are you talking about, man?
He's an OG kind of guy.
Well, here's the thing. When you told me that you had him calling in, I was like, we haven't interviewed him, have we? And you're like, yet. Yeah.
Give it time.
Yeah. Totally.
Oh.
Jesus.
Man.
Hey, this is independent filmmaker Len Kabasinski wanting to chime in and wish everybody that's involved with the Cinema Psychos show congratulations on your 200th episode or 2000th episode or 2 millionth. What is it, 200, right? So here's to 200 more. I thought I'd come up with something real witty and cool that I'd drop in there and stuff, but I think the wit and everything lies in the fact that you're on your 200th episode, right? So congratulations, everybody. All I have is, do I have that picture of Kip Winger in RoboCop? Here, simply enjoy. Congratulations.
Thanks, Glenn.
Wow.
Awesome.
Man.
That was one of my favorite interviews, I think, that we've done. It was nice to talk to another Pennsylvanian filmmaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And fun fact, we are on the special features of the Fist of the Vampire re-release.
I believe so.
Yeah, Fist of the Vampire, we're on the special feature.
I always wanted to be a special feature in life.
Yeah.
Well, the way that whole thing kind of came about was really interesting because Len had just messaged me and he and you guys as well and said, "Hey, would you want to do a special feature interview with me?" And we're like,
"It was so amazing."
Yeah.
Sure.
It's so cool. You know, John and I worked for him years ago, and it's so nice to be able to work in this realm as well.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy.
Really awesome guy.
Unbelievably hardworking too. So you can check out his stuff on Amazon. Most of his stuff is up there.
Or just give Killer Wolf Films a Google.
Yeah.
A Google.
But yeah, guys, let's continue our open discussion of this film. I think one of the biggest successes of this film is that we don't see the killer. We don't know the killer. I think that really the terror of this film is that, we see his shoulder, we see a silhouette, we hear breathing, obviously the phone calls. The Margot Kidder killer is the closest we come to actually seeing anything of him. I think that's really where the terror lies in this film. What do you guys think?
I agree. I mean, it's a convention that we're familiar with from grad school.
Yep.
But it's a light you don't turn on. I hate to say that. I'm sorry. But I think that having that added mystery and keeping that element in the shadows, so to speak, I think that that's a really good choice. And again, we talk about the process informing the final product. Maybe it was financially kind of decided to not have a lot of shots of the killer and do POV. I mean, I know that's why they did it in Halloween, because it was cheaper. But again, I think that's good storytelling. And if you are a good storyteller, like Bob Clark obviously is, I think that when you make those choices, that's something that creates a good final product.
Definitely. When it comes to making a film too, it allows for a documentary style for the cinematographer, which takes a lot of pressure off of him. The camera is the eyes of the killer a lot of the time, so it makes it a lot easier and a lot. There's a lot more allowed in terms of the shakiness of the camera or not getting the shot right off the bat, because the idea is the guy's creeping around the house. So I think it kind of actually helps out the production a lot. That's probably why they were able to keep the budget so low.
Definitely. I know for me, I don't know if this film would be nearly as successful if they did show the killer, and I also think that us not knowing who the killer is, and because it leaves you the whole time watching the movie going like, all right, could it be Peter? Could it be the other boyfriend who's in there? Could it be the cop? We don't know. And honestly, that keeping you guessing the whole time, that's part of the ride. That's part of why this movie is successful. That's why it keeps you on the edge of your seat, because you keep thinking to yourself, okay, it's got to be somebody in this, and ultimately, I think it's none of them. I don't think it's anyone who's actually introduced as the male character. I think that's the beauty of it, is that it could just be. Yeah.
And I think that informs later movies with, your favorite film, Brian, Scream. When it ends up antagonize him.
God damn it!
When it ends up being the boyfriend, that's almost a subversion of the trope, right?
Yes.
Where you think it's the boyfriend, but then it's not. And then in this case, I don't know, I always thought Steve Aldrich seemed like a psychopath, but when
it's his face, he just has a face, psychopath face.
When you think he's maybe not the killer, but then ends up being the killer. Spoiler alert for anyone who has Scream.
I think when you're past decades, you no longer have to hold yourself to spoiler alerts.
96? 94?
96, yeah.
Yeah, good reference, Link. There's another scary phone calls coming into Landline movie. What's your scary movie?
Your favorite scary movie?
It's your scary movie.
Again,
none of them.
You can see the roots of that film in Black Christmas, where you think it's Peter for a while. I mean, it's a natural idea. I think that
it's his face. It's his face too.
Because Jess wants to get an abortion. We were talking about that in this movie.
Oh yeah, the abortion angle.
Just some nice Christmas topic, abortion.
Yeah.
Hey, she's choosing what to do with her body, and she doesn't really care what he wants. It's her body, and God bless this movie for being that progressive.
And even when he proposes marriage, she's like, "Nah, still don't want to have a kid. Still want to get married." It's surprisingly feminist.
Which, very much so.
Yeah.
Again, with the 2019 one, which tried so hard to be feminist and was not. It's amazing.
And it's funny you should say that, because Bob Clark actually said, they asked him, was this movie purposely meant to be, a feminist and progressive movie? And he said, no, not really. We're just making a movie. And they said, what about the abortion thing? And he's like, we just needed characters to have something to talk about when they weren't being murdered. And so I don't know. I would have been like, Bob, take it. Yeah, I've been like, well, I'm a leader.
You know, it seems to me that certain films get almost that kind of, they get you know, I guess context, you could say, thrown on it, even if they didn't necessarily mean to. You know, another good example of this, you know, Night of the Living Dead, the fact that Ben is an African-American hero in this film, that he is the lead character, that he's beating the shit out of Cooper in it. Cooper really deserved every hit, and getting shot. You know, this is at 1968 we're talking about here. Race relations in America were horrible. Yeah, horrible. Okay.
1 out of 10 wouldn't.
And a lot of people were like, man, do you see Night of the Living Dead? Like, that's actually happening. It's talk about race relations. And then you ask the filmmakers, and they're just like, Dwayne Jones was the best person for the job.
Yeah, he was the best.
He gave the best performance.
And they rewrote the script a little to kind of fit his character better.
But they didn't think about the political context of it. It's kind of something that after the fact has been kind of thrown on it.
Well, isn't that the most amazing thing about art? Because a lot of people see the experience of being gay in this film because there's characters that are trapped in the basement/closet. There's all kinds of interpretations.
Yep.
And people can personalize it to their own experiences. And I think that that's one of the most amazing things about art. You know, you always want to keep in mind what the filmmakers intended. Mm-hmm. But if there's things that you can derive that are part of your own life and help you with life, isn't that what art is for? To help you with life?
I mean, it's supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, wait. Do you hear that?
I hear nothing.
The phone ringing.
No.
And it's not the pitter patter of hooves on the roof of the reindeer. It's not the voice that's in my head. Oh, I know what it is. It's time for America's fastest growing game show. Name that. Bob. I'm sure I did on this microphone.
Well, what was funny was I think that you talking and screaming came in through Lane's mic.
Oh, totally. I'm in the basement. He's upstairs.
Yeah, I could just hear it like after this. I'm like, yeah, I can hear him screaming.
There's somebody else in the attic, I'm sure. You know, just like in the movie. Yeah, so here's how the game works. Every Bob Clark movie has a lot of sex jokes. So
a lot of sex jokes.
To Black Christmas, Porky's 2, Rhinestone, the Dolly Parton Sly movie.
I want to see it so bad. I saw this when I was researching for the episode. I'm so ready.
And obviously a Christmas story. So I'm going to read off the quote, and you guys tell me which movie you think it's from.
I'm going to be terrible at this because I haven't seen all of them.
All right. When I tell you to come, you better come.
Baby Geniuses. Just kidding.
That's Black Christmas.
Lane?
I'm also going to say Black Christmas.
Yeah, that sounds like a Margot Kidder thing.
This was Trick. That's actually Christmas Story.
What?
Yeah,
what? When shit. Yeah, you're right.
They didn't come to him earlier in the day.
I can see you're going to play Dirty Bullets.
Oh, well, you know, there's no winning at this game. I don't know about you, Lane. I haven't seen half these movies in a while.
I looked up the titles just so I didn't know.
There are two kinds of people in this world, and you ain't one of them.
Rhinestone.
That seems like something Dolly would say.
That's correct, Rhinestone.
I win.
You win.
This one round.
I don't think you can pick your nose with written instructions.
Say it again.
I don't think you can pick your nose with written instructions.
I'll go with Porky's.
I'm going to go with Porky's too.
That's Black Christmas, guys.
What?
That just seems like something that a sex comedy would have in it.
Speaking of professional virgins here, we have the queen of vaudeville herself.
That's Black Christmas.
Agreed.
Yes, you guys got it. All right.
Yay! Unfortunately, Unfortunately, I didn't load up like clapping sound effects. I should have.
Like applause?
Yeah.
Do you know that's like a sound you can put on a sound machine?
Yeah.
Just fall asleep to people applauding for you? What the hell is that shit?
That's what I sleep to every night.
Of course it is.
We'll go back to your place and you can show me your organ.
Porkies. Yeah.
That is actually rhinestone. Is it actually talking about an actual
game
organ?
sucks.
Obviously, it's double, the boy is deformed. Talking about a penis.
Baby genius. No, I'm just kidding.
Baby geniuses.
You're welcome. She-Man.
I don't know. I got nothing.
One of Bob Clark's movies that undoubtedly
A Bob Clark movie. I don't know.
That is Porky's. All right. Son of a bitch.
Christmas Story?
Christmas Story. Yeah.
Yep. You guys got that one.
That's
all right. This one is a little intense. Darling, you can't rape a townie.
Wait, what?
Darling, you can't rape a townie.
Oh, that's Black Christmas. That's something Margot would say.
Yep.
Agreed.
That's exactly right, Brian. Yep.
Gross. Ugh.
This zener has been used to chop off literally hundreds of foreskins. What better to shave the heads of a bunch of pricks like you?
Porkies.
Karate Dog.
That's Porky's too.
Okay. I mean, do I get partial credit for that because I named a movie from? Okay. Thank you.
These broads would hump the Leaning Tower of Pisa if they could get up there.
Terrifying.
Black Christmas. I don't know.
Lane?
Porkies.
That is Black Christmas.
Damn it!
Hey!
I'm bad at this.
You're bad at that. I'm really bad at this. I don't even know how I'm guessing these. Maybe it's because I watched the movie last night and I've got it in my memory.
Don't think John picked any quotes from Baby Jesus.
No, I said at the top there was a Baby Jesus. You weird pervert.
I'm the weird pervert. Gross.
All right. I don't care if they're dead as long as they ain't cold.
Porkies.
That's a Porky's thing. That's pretty gross.
That's Porky's.
That's real gross.
He had yellow eyes. So help me God.
Black Christmas.
I'm going to go with Rhinestone.
That's Christmas Story. Talking about Scott Farkas again.
Oh, shit. Goddamn Scott Farkas. You know, he's followed us on Facebook, on Twitter, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has. He's followed us.
John's talked to him.
Yeah. He had to come up, and I couldn't interview him this year, but next year, hopefully.
Johnny Hollywood.
Get to make
I
t-shirts,
didn't
man.
send my daughter here to be drinking and picking up boys.
That is Black Christmas.
Yes.
Yep. All right. I think we have two more here. Don't leave me. I can't have our baby alone.
That's Black Christmas.
Lane?
Christmas Story.
Porky's too.
Come on.
Oh, come on.
Only one thing.
Call him bullshit.
Away from the soft glow of electric sex.
Oh, that's Christmas Story. That's the leg lamp.
Yeah.
All right. And I'll stick my tongue up your pretty pussy.
Ew. Porkies.
That sounds like Porky's.
That is actually a Christmas Story when Ralphie helps his dad change the tire.
So that's what he said the whole time. He didn't say fudge. He said something else.
Is it Black Christmas? Is it one of the thing calls?
That's one of the phone calls. Yeah.
What was that one?
It was Black Christmas.
Gross.
Okay, it was. Okay. Jesus Christ, man.
That was fun. Brian, do you feel good?
I don't know. I wasn't taking the tally on this, so I don't know who won, but I think we'll call it a draw.
There's no
We'll
winner.
call it a draw.
Lost.
Yeah.
There's no winners.
Yeah, we both
I did
lost.
trying to, but boy, I sure would hate if the phone rang suddenly.
Oh my god!
Why are you saying that? Why are you saying that? Why would that even happen?
Yeah.
No, you didn't jinx it. Why would anyone call us? We've already had so many calls already. So why would anyone else call us? Oh, really?
I don't think I can take this. Oh, hey,
Hi, Cinema Psycho Show, and congratulations on 200 episodes. I am Katie Maloney from Night Zero, and I am so honored to have been able to be part of one of your episodes. You guys are hilarious and awesome, and I cannot wait to keep listening.
Well, that was nice.
Lovely.
That was lovely.
That was nice.
Tell you, these people don't
we
know how
haven't
to make phone calls at all.
I know.
Well,
we
but
haven't
you
really
was-
this full thread. I feel left out.
Yeah. This isn't fair. We all need phone calls, and actually, no, we don't, because then I have to cue the sound for all of those. So no, this is fine.
What?
Yeah.
Taking that curtain down, y'all.
That's right. That's right.
Bringing it down.
Yeah.
So, my question is, John, what was the critical response to Black Christmas? Because I feel like it's probably polarizing.
Well, yeah, I could pull that information up. I hope we don't get it up.
What?
Congratulations, you cinema psychos. This is the 200th episode of the infamous Cinema Psycho Show. And on behalf of myself and me, Darren Ewing, Arnold, the Oh My God guy from Troll 2, and many other cinematic gems, congratulations, you crazy kids. 200. Wow, you don't look a day over 199. Oh my God!
Wow.
How about that?
That was crazy.
Darren is an awesome guy. We have an interview with him too. You should definitely check that out. I hope I didn't ruin the whole episode by laughing the whole time. But man, everything.
It was a good episode. It was really good. I liked that episode. It was really good.
But yeah, I'm sure we're going to release the moment here with calls. And Lane, as you said, you wanted to know what the critical consensus was. So I think we should look at now. Hey, what the critics say.
Agreed.
Yeah, we already got the bumper up, by the way.
I know. I just need to find where the hell. Oh, there it is.
I was going to say, did my favorite friend Roger Ebert, who's rotten in hell with Santa Claus, did he hate this movie too?
Well, I actually have this counterpart, the more skeletal version of Chicago. But I'll get to him. But according to A.H. Wheeler of the New York Times, he called this a whodunit that raises the question as to why was it made. What a dick.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think that's often the problem with slasher movies, because they can often speak to hard truths, but at the same time, the genre is kind of derided, especially in the film community. So I think the knee-jerk reaction is to be like, oh, this is a slasher film.
Yeah.
There isn't any merit here. But I think that it takes more time and some generational background to kind of appreciate a film like from a longer time ago, a slasher film. I think it's always appreciated like after its time.
It's kind of like a fine wine, you know.
Yeah.
It is.
But Variety actually had a collective stand up. It's corporate wash when it said it was a bloody, senseless kill for kicks feature. Exploits unnecessary violence in a university sorority house operated by an implausibly alcoholic ex-hooker. It's slow paced.
Oh, come on. She's comic relief. She's not that bad.
Violence was necessary for a murder. Hello.
It's a horror movie. What did you expect?
Its slow-paced murky tale involves an obscene telephone caller who apparently delights in killing the girls off one by one, even the hapless house mother. So, spoiler alert in that review.
Yeah, I was going to say thanks for basically screwing the filmmaker over. You know,
Brian, your best friend Jesus of the Chicago Tribune, not the Chicago Sun-Times. That's Raji. Gave the film 1.5 stars out of 4. Called it routine
Of course he
shocker. that is notable only for indicating the kind of junk roles that talented actresses are forced to play in movies. Which I don't think is fair, actually.
Oh, come on. Just because, you know what the problem is? He's looking at it from the standpoint of Olivia Hussey, was at this time famous for being Juliet and Romeo and Juliet. And he's looking at it as like, oh, you went from that. Yeah, you went from Shakespeare to getting, being the final girl in a Canadian horror movie. It's like, grow the hell up,
Who doesn't want to be the final girl in the Canadian horror movie?
Goals.
Kevin Thomas of the Los Angeles Times wrote, before it maddeningly overreaches in a gratuitously evasive ending, Black Christmas is a smart, stylish Canadian-made little horror picture that is completely diverting. It may well be that its makers simply couldn't figure out how to end it. I couldn't disagree more. But there's some positivity. Heidi Martinuzzi, film thread called the film innovative and praised leading actresses Olivia Hussey and Margot Kidder. TV Guide, remember them? Kids TV Guide.
What's a TV Guide?
It will tell you
I love TV Guide.
Wait a minute. You mean you have to use your hands? And it's not digital?
I used to read toy cover to cover.
Oh, same here.
The TV Guide awarded the film 3 out of 4 stars, writing, although strictly standard fare, the material is elevated, through Clark's skillful handling of such plot devices as obscene phone calls from the killer to the girls via the upstairs phone, and nicely handled twist ending, which provides a genuine shock. And 2 other things here. Leonard Maltin gave the film 2.5 out of 4 stars, calling it bizarre, but also praised Kidder's performance as a standout. And the Time Out Film Guide noted that the film manages a good slice of old-fashioned suspense. So the critics weren't.
I was going to say critics
loving it first. Yeah.
Well, I did say. I mean, this one did kind of establish some tropes that these very same critics would, 4 years later, 5 years later, be like, yeah, this is gross. Like I remember especially, the first half of the slasher genre, the golden age, if you call it that, where you do have your Michael Myers and your Jason and all that, where these killers were rooted in the idea that they could be anybody. That those sorts of things critics hated with a passion. To the point where it kind of got to an apex with another Christmas movie that we've already talked about, which is, of course, Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Elves. Oh, no, sorry.
No.
Elves is such a classic. Why didn't you
Elves
think of it right away?
is also a classic.
This film did become a cult hit, as we mentioned before, so it kind of got its notoriety after the fact. And it's funny how I think probably a lot of these reviewers kind of walk back the reviews. They actually love watching the Siskel and Ebert "We Got It Wrong" episodes they used to do, including Gene Siskel shitting all over Silence of the Lambs. So it's always fun to watch.
He shit all over Silence of the Lambs?
Yeah, he said the ending made it just a typical like slasher movie and just was nonsense and left it open for a sequel. So he was taken out of it. But then he walked it back and went, no, it's great. When it won the Academy Award, oh, no, it's wonderful.
Oh, yeah. Then it was, as long as you got the golden statue, you're good.
Yeah. then I can't be wrong. Yeah. But Boyhood still sucks. I know it didn't win, but I was nominated for Best Picture, but Boyhood sucks.
Just curious, when are you going to let it go about Boyhood?
You're never going to let that go. Never going to let that one go.
Something that happened in that movie.
I know you don't like my glitter, but Jesus.
You know what? The actors were waiting for something to happen in the movie too, but unfortunately they were just busy being told, "Hey, you got to come back here." What? It's your 10th birthday? Guess what? You got to go film that 10-year-old scene.
All right, guys, we're getting towards the end here. I want to be like your 10th grade phys ed teacher / health teacher. I want to be tough but fair. So let's ask some tough but fair questions.
All right.
Oh, well, there's our tough but fair bumper.
Is this the best Christmas horror movie? Not horror movie, but Christmas themed horror movie.
The best one. Christmas themed horror movie. That's a tough sell.
It's a hard question.
Yeah, Lane, do you want to go first, and then I'll play runner up on that? I
think it's a tough question because you have to look at the element of Christmas and see if it's imperative to the film or not. In this case, making sure that the building is empty, there's just a few of them left for the break. Yeah, that's important, but it's not Christmas per se.
Okay.
So, while I love this movie and it's one of my favorite Christmas movies, I don't think it's a quintessential Christmas slasher.
Or Christmas horror.
Or Christmas horror. Is that scandalous?
Oh, it's your opinion.
Okay. John, what about you? What do you think? Do you think this is the best Christmas horror movie?
No, Gremlins. It's probably second. Where does this film belong? Where does this film belong?
Well, I didn't give my thing. I didn't give my opinion.
Oh, sorry.
No. So I think that it's a tie. I really do.
Okay.
I think it's a tie between this and Silent Night, Deadly Night. I really do. I think if we're talking about best Christmas horror movie, it kind of goes along the lines that you mentioned, Lane, of, does Christmas have a role in the film otherwise? Is it more or less just a background, or is it something that is actually part of the integrity of the story? So for me, I definitely think that both Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Black Christmas all have that sort of feel to it.
And where does this film belong on Bob Clark's CV as a filmmaker? Is it on his Mount Rushmore or no?
No. Well, that's a tough one. I mean, I don't know. I think for me, I'm gonna say that this might not be on his Mount Rushmore, but it's probably on the visitor center before you get to Mount Rushmore for him.
Lane, you're coming in a little digitized.
Yeah, I'm going to try to. There we go. You're fixed.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
We're good.
Well, what do you think, Lane?
I think it's so fascinating that there's two Christmas movies in Bob Clark's repertoire that are just on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Like I said before, one's you and one's me. But I don't know. I think it's at the upper echelon because a lot of the other stuff Bob Clark did wasn't that great / prolific.
Yeah.
I would say this. When people die, they say like, oh, here lies John Carpenter, director of Halloween, or in the newspaper, director of Halloween, John Carpenter has died today. Not that I'm, please, John Carpenter, live forever. I'm not putting you in the grave.
please don't don't jinx us here.
Yeah, no jinxing. Maybe sometimes two films. They don't mention three, but I really do think if they mention three, it would be, Bob Clark has died today, director of Christmas Story, Porky, and if there was a third, I think they would say, Black Christmas. So,
yeah, fair enough.
Is this a Christmas movie?
I give it like the test of Die Hard. I couldn't watch Die Hard in July. And this, it would have to be fall, but it wouldn't have to be December. So what does that say? I don't know.
I think that this one you kind of have to watch around Christmas time.
It's fair.
Yeah.
Does this hold up?
A lot of it does.
I mean, the fashion doesn't. I mean, what's his face?
That's
Claire's
debatable.
boyfriend.
I guess
Claire's
I'm saying by
boyfriend.
today's standards, like obviously rotary phones and the fashion.
I kind of want everything Jess wears in this movie.
But but I mean, does it still hold up in terms of like the way it's portrayed, its message, its characters, things like that?
Like I said, I think the movie's surprisingly feminist.
Yes.
In ways that other reboots or sequels tried and failed to be.
Yeah.
So I do think that the themes of the film are pretty strong. I think if there's any problem I have with the movie, it's just the ambiguous ending. I like closure. So to not really know what happens to Jess at the end, I mean, we've spent a lot of time being invested in her. And to be left at the end of the movie like worrying about her, I don't need that stress.
Yeah, I think for me, it holds up for me because me personally, I have an appreciation for movies from different eras. I think if you're going to ask, does this hold up compared to a modern horror movie? No. And that honestly, I think comes down to pace. I don't think that modern horror movies can handle being anything slower than manic frania. Like honestly, like frenetic paced crap with jump scares and all sorts of things. That's not really what's in this movie. This movie takes its time, and that I think is really just a product of its time. So does it hold up when I compare it to a modern horror movie? Not really. But does it hold up in terms of its scares and its visuals? Damn right it does. The sequence where Margot gets murdered is hauntingly visual. You've got Jess, who's just literally standing outside the door looking at Christmas carolers, and you contrast that with the shots of the murderer holding that glass unicorn, and the way that she's killed in it is hauntingly visual. And it's something that I think Black Christmas really does well. And that is using visuals to its advantage. It doesn't have the money to do a lot of big crazy things like the horror movies that Hollywood was producing at the time. So it does what it can with visuals and with editing. Having that back and forth sequence between the Christmas carols, which is that innocent part of the holidays, and contrasting it with bloody murder, which we don't see everything, and that's the best part. We don't see any of that stuff happen. So those sorts of things do hold up, but you can't really compare it to a modern horror movie, I think.
Tell you, where's Superman when you need him? Right? Should have been there to help her out. But playing off with what you said a second ago, is not revealing the killer a good thing, or was it because they didn't know how to end it?
I'm sorry, can you say it one more time? Like I said, I'm having a hard time understanding you.
Is not revealing the killer a good thing? Was it because they didn't know how to end it?
I think from a filmmaking standpoint, you need an ending to your film. And if you leave the ending ambiguous, it's because you didn't have any more good ideas.
All right, I disagree with you, Brian.
I think that if you revealed the killer at the end, that I don't think the impact of this would be nearly as strong. I think if we saw the killer, the idea that it's anybody is the part that is terrifying. The part that it could be just some rando, literally in the neighborhood. That's the fear part. That's the scary part of this particular movie. And these kinds of movies, it started with this film and then kind of, cascaded to, Halloween and Jason, those sorts of things, where it was just random people who were doing this. But I don't think that if we had a face to go with this, that it would be nearly as effective. I really believe that. And I kind of like the fact that the ending is left ambiguous. It makes the audience do some work. I know the audience doesn't like doing work. Don't like doing things. You just want to watch the movie.
I'm with you, bro.
I'm not targeting you, Lane. I'm just saying that the average filmmaker literally just wants to be entertained.
Well,
film goer, not filmmaker. But.
I do like the idea that this is just kind of like a random person. It's not somebody that we've met in the movie. I really truly believe believe that this is just some crazy guy who climbed the sorority house, found a way in the attic, and was crazy and just started killing people. I actually read a book on serial killers that a friend of ours had. She wanted to go into like forensic, not forensic, but where she would interview serial killers and things like that. And one of the fascinating things in there I saw was there was a serial killer who went door to door, and he would shake the doorknob, and if it was locked, he would move on and move on and move on until he found one that was unlocked, and then he would just go in the house and kill anybody inside. And that is a real killer in history. I think Russia, of course. Sorry to our Russian fans if we have any. But, that's exactly what this movie was. This guy just happened to find a place where there were a lot of people and went in and started killing them. And I think that's twice as scary as if it turns out it was Peter the whole time or whatever, You didn't want to have.
I think it's too easy to say that it was Peter. It's too easy to say it was Peter. Like you have so many clues dropped that it's him, but it just too convenient.
And guys, does Jess die at the end?
You don't think so?
I think she's killed.
I think she's dead.
Dude.
Yeah, I think the police finally get there and they find her bloody corpse and they finally check the attic.
She didn't fight that long and that hard to just be dead at the end of it all.
Ryan?
Yeah. I think she's probably dead. Yeah.
And lastly here, is this a good movie or is it just a good Christmas horror movie?
I mean, I think it's a good movie. I think it's a good movie. I think it's a good movie.
I think it's a pretty good movie. I think it's a great Christmas horror movie.
Yes. I think I'm with you, John. Surprisingly.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. You guys are married. You don't want a fight happening in the household because one of you,
oh, please. It's the first time it would have ever happened in 200 episodes. We just finished.
You're gonna march up out of your. You're gonna march up out of your box in the live stream and show up in John's box and be like, "What the fuck you say?"
No, I agree. I think it's a great Christmas slasher and a pretty good movie. That's where I'm at.
I think it's a good movie. Like I really do think it's a good movie. But kind of as you said, I think it's a great Christmas horror film. But it's not a bad movie. Like I don't think that it. You watch it and you're just bored. I wasn't bored watching this, and that's honestly the true sign of a good film is if I'm watching it and I'm engaged in it. And keep in mind that I'm someone who wasn't really down to even watch this movie and do a review for it. I kind of was like, oh, okay, I guess we'll do Black Christmas. But, I watched it again. I'm like, this actually isn't half bad. As I said, I think that they did a lot with visuals. You can see that they are establishing tropes that are going to be expanded upon later. Mm-hmm. That's groundbreaking work there. So, yeah, it's definitely a good movie, but even great as a horror film,
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. What are you doing there?
What?
God damn it. You did.
Hi, this is Monster Mark Kazubuki, and I just want to say to the Cinema Psychos, congratulations on your 200th episode, and I am looking forward to your review of Black Christmas. It's one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. Congrats, guys.
Well,
thanks, Mark.
Lovely.
That was really nice. Before we get
that this phone will never ring again. No.
Why are you saying things like that?
One more time.
Why are you saying things like that? Why are you being evil like that?
Yes. Hello. The screen is black.
Yeah, I think that one might have not worked.
Why are you doing this to me? Where are you?
Oh, hold on.
Hold on for what?
Congratulations to John Williscroft and the Cinema Psychos show for reaching their 200th episode. That's awesome, guys. Ask good questions, get good answers. Now, on to the next 200. This is Bobby Ray Schaefer, Bob Vance, Vance Refrigeration, or Officer Joe Vickers saying, watch it or else.
Yeah. that one took a little longer to get on the call.
Time, didn't he?
He did. He did. He did take his sweet time.
Insane. Anyone
Yeah.
who loves The Office knows Bob
But
Vance.
listen, it's crazy. Before we get any more crazy calls, which I don't know if we're going to have any more. I don't know. I would like to jump to our chat. You know, we haven't checked in with the chat in a while. Let's check in with the chat, see how everyone's doing there. Okay, so hey, chat, how's it going? So Blaze Simmons says she's definitely dead.
I'm so excited to watch it.
Definitely dead. Definitely dead. I agree. I really do agree. I think Jess is totally dead.
The worst.
Yeah. And then JC, is it Eves or Evs?
Eves, I think.
Eves. So he said it was Ramirez. It was Richard Ramirez who was the one who was going to the homes and checking if they were locked.
Mm.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, and then of course, you know, your mom said, you know, the thoughts on the ending. Does it maintain the suspense?
I love how you're like, your mom is not an insult. Like, literally, my mom's watching and engaging.
Yeah, she's engaging. So yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry. What did she say, guys?
She said that she wanted to know our thoughts on the very ending, the phone ringing being corny or doesn't maintain the suspense.
I like it. As
yeah,
an
I mean,
editor,
I'm a fan of it too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my heart, I want closure, but as a filmmaker, I have opinions, so it is a good choice, like filmmaker wise.
But hey, maybe she didn't die because she never answered the phone. Maybe he just kept calling up in the attic. Like,
everything's fine.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, and you know, I mean, granted though, like you look at endings that we're all kind of familiar with, like Night of the Living Dead's ending of, you know, Ben getting shot, and then of course the remake of that kind of really screwing the pooch on that one. But you know, there is a lot to be said for how a film ends, and I can see where some people might be like, I think it's corny. I personally kind of am in like you, John. I think that you have to have that there. You know, having that little bit of it hangs on it, just like what's going to happen next, because that phone ringing has been the whole consistent thing within the movie.
The phone's one of the protagonists or antagonists.
It is. I think it's antagonist. I don't think it's protagonist.
Interesting.
Let's see what else we got here. Chris Lemke said that his Christmas horror movies: Gremlins, Black Christmas, Krampus, Silent Night, Deadly Night. That's a good list, Chris.
I love Krampus.
I couldn't agree more.
It's such a good list.
Yeah, that's a really good list. Let's see what else we got.
Gremlins
here.
is a classic, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and Chris also said that if anyone has a problem with Canadian geese, they got a problem with me.
Canadian geese are mean. Okay, so we went to Edinburgh University.
Yeah.
And there's a fake lake on the campus.
Yeah.
It's inhabited by geese, and every last geek is a total deek.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're awful. They are.
No, they're so mean, and their poop is everywhere. And it smells so bad, like way worse.
That's gross. That's really gross. Really, really gross.
Yeah. Geese are
from our chat, does anyone have any more questions or any more comments before we kind of run over, kind of start to wrap this sucker up?
Let us know.
Let us know. We'll come back to you.
I think my mom was mad I called out the whole blue white thing. Did you see her comment, Brian?
No. Oh no,
She called me an a-hole.
Okay, I don't know why I'm not seeing those.
Your own mother called you an a-hole. I mean,
listen,
my mother's like,
I probably deserved it. It's fine.
Oh, here's a good one. Here's a good one from Chris. Where does Jess fall in your favorite Final Girls?
I like her because she's badass, you know.
And she doesn't need no man.
She doesn't need no man.
I put her up there with Laurie Strode.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
She's got Strode energy.
I kind of put her, you know, I would, if I had to say, you know, my top three Final Girls, I think it's definitely Laurie Strode and Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street, and definitely Jess.
Man, yeah.
Nancy, especially in the end of the Nancy in the end of the first film is
Friday the 13th. You can check out that interview on my YouTube when you're done watching this.
Oh, well, look at that. Are you cross promoting your stuff? Is that what you're doing?
Shameless self-promotion. It's fine.
Do I have to put a ticker on the bottom of this thing? This is a paid promotion by J-Dub's Video Nasties. Yeah. No, that's definitely good. Jess is definitely a good final girl.
She is very much so.
Yeah. All right, so
guys. Unless we have any other cats we need to read out, what are your guys' final thoughts on this film?
We didn't really talk too much about Margot Kidder that much, and I think for me, if we're kind of talking about our final thoughts, I think it's worth talking about the fact that this movie honestly does a great balancing act of not just the whole visual stuff of a horror movie, but the fact that it, in my opinion, expertly balances comedy and horror at the same time. And that's tough to do. It is extremely tough to do. The scene where every scene that Margot Kidder is in is hilarious. It is honestly hilarious. Even though she is clearly dealing with some stuff, she's clearly dealing with some horrible life stuff, and the result of it is the fact that she is kind of a lush in this film. She has some of the best lines. Her and Mrs. Mack have some of the absolute best lines and best gags. Mrs. Mack's interaction with Claire's father when they're in her room and she's like holding her hand on the ass poster. Those sorts of things, some of that, all that stuff isn't spoken. It's just through the acting, and you get these comedic elements that then help kind of make space for those terrifying elements. So I think final thoughts is that Black Christmas balances a lot of stuff on a $600,000 budget that most movies that have 3 times that budget, if not more, could barely hold a candle to.
Lynn?
Brian said it really well. I think for me, obviously, I'm always looking at the social ramifications of things. I always look to see if something is feminist enough. And a lot of the decisions that Jess makes and her own bodily autonomy, I think, are really strong elements in this film, as well as being kind of the birthplace of that killer POV shot. I think that this film is a real classic.
Yeah.
And I would say that this film is a great example of when a studio just gets the hell out of a way of a promising director. This reminds me a lot of Halloween in many, many ways. But one of the main things that sticks with me is how John Carpenter took that script, obviously wrote it, but it wasn't his first choice of any kind of movie he wanted to make. But damn, did he just kill it. And they stayed out of his way and let him do his thing. And, it was because he was such a promising young filmmaker. And it's the same thing here with Black Christmas. Bob Clark, obviously, you could tell that this guy was going to do great things. And I think we could use more of that in this world. The studio just backing off and allowing more independent-minded filmmakers in their studios to just go out there and show what they can do. And I think he knocked it out of the park with this movie, and he continued to knock it out of the park the rest of his career. And I've only ever heard good things about Bob Clark, which is awesome. Nobody's ever had a bad thing to say about the guy. So,
he hasn't made did he ever make another horror movie aside from this one, or was this for only one?
Baby Genius. Well, they're not all gold kids.
They're not all winners.
But no, I don't think so, really.
That's a shame. It honestly is a shame because, you look at other filmmakers like John Carpenter and, really prolific horror filmmakers that kind of get pigeonholed and they never can break out of that. Bob Clark seems like one of the rare ones who was successful in making a horror movie, yet decided to kind of really step away from even making those. I think it would have been easy for him to make more horror films rather than kind of move towards more, commercial films like Christmas Story. But it's just, and Porky's also, I imagine, was pretty popular. I don't know. I don't think I was alive at the time it came out. But my point is just like, I would have liked to have seen him do another horror movie just to kind of refine what he's given us with Black Christmas. Kind of take those elements that clearly he invented, that someone else kind of picked up and refined on their own end. But I would have liked to have seen how he kind of does his own refinement to these, slasher killer tropes that he invented for the most part.
Well, guys, I do believe that brings us to the end here. But I think it might be time.
Oh, we did have. Hold on a second. Okay. We did have one comment come in. That I do want to make sure that we read all the comments here. So I'm going to quickly jump over to our chat here.
Oh, and also, Mom was calling you an a-hole, John, not me.
Oh,
all right.
You're my favorite.
Oh,
I did.
So JC,
give her a lot of
JC
for the comment.
So JC made one comment that a question that I did want to hit on. He said, "Why do you think movies such as this are critically panned at the time, but look back upon fondly for their contributions?"
I think a lot of that's changing. I think critics by nature, they looked at horror movies in the same way they did professional wrestling and pornography. It's low brow. It's for mouth breathing.
It's a lower art form, right?
Yeah, it's lower art. But I think that because so many people propped up horror movies that they kind of had to kind of reevaluate them. So I think the snootiness of older time critics, I do think a lot of that's changing. I don't think it's kind of like I saw this, not to do a sidebar here, but I saw this interesting interview with Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel, and they were actually on the good side here because they were talking about Star Wars. I think it was The Empire Strikes Back, and there was another reviewer who said like, "Oh my God, the characters in here are so drab. There's no separation between the robots and the humans. If you want to take your child to a movie that's really going to open their mind, take them to Tender Mercies." I'm like, the hell? And basically Roger Ebert, he's just like, "Dude, this is a great kids movie. What the hell's wrong with you? It's great." And that's that old school movie critic that's just off their own ass. That's why a lot of people don't like movie critics, because they live in their own bubble. But I think that's changing.
And I think that the slasher genre, especially when it kind of got started at the first, bit out of the gate, I think it was harder to accept it as the rest of the film world genres might have been accepted, because murder can be exploitative. Films in general can be exploitative, and if a film speaks to any higher truths, it's harder to see.
Yeah.
I think that knowing what we know now, having films that we have now, it's easier to kind of see those merits in older films looking back.
Yeah. I kind of echo a lot of what you guys said. I think that critics can't get past their own bullshit. It's the truth of it. I think critics have in their head that they are critics and that their opinion matters more than anybody else. So, they kind of almost get this view of their kingmakers. We're technically critics. All three of us are technically critics. I don't, my opinion is my opinion. It's not going to mean that your movie is bad or that your movie is good. It's just my opinion. I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, I went to school for this stuff. I've made, films on my own, and, I know what's good and what's bad. But ultimately, that doesn't take away anything from the fact that you made a movie. That's a hard thing to do, whether it's good or bad. But my point is that I think some critics, the reason why they kind of look down on horror movies so much is that they view it as just pedestrian entertainment. Kind of the same way that you viewed pornography and professional wrestling. That isn't to say that people who work in pornography and people who work in professional wrestling can tell you a lot of work goes into both of those forms of media. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just, someone just grabbing a camera and saying, go. There's a lot that goes into it. and that there should be some appreciation for that. And horror is kind of in the same realm there. People view it as, oh, you just got fake blood and gore and nudity, and there's no real art to this. I think movies like Black Christmas really kind of break that. There isn't one real scene in this where there's any nudity at all.
Which is very typical of the genre.
There could have been. Very easily could have been. But this one didn't do that. Why? Because it knew it didn't need to. It wasn't going to serve the movie at all. Why are movies like this? Yeah. Fake blood is hard work. Yes, it is. So I want to get to some of the other questions here. Antoinette Marie says, I do wonder if Black Christmas could be done with a fraternity instead of a sorority.
I don't have any problem. I think that a majority of audience would be like, "Ooh, maybe they could be." I think they would have a hard time around it. But I kind of like that idea.
I think it could be.
Yeah, I mean, if you can see it, it was well written, but after 2019, I'm kind of broken inside. It was so bad.
I think you could, if you kind of made it in the same realm as the Keanu Reeves movie Knock Knock, then maybe.
Gotcha. We missed a question, Brian.
We missed another question.
Shout out sister-in-law. Asked us if we have a favorite episode of the show.
Well, you guys go first on your favorite episodes.
Brian, or John, you go first.
Me, so I don't want to sound like an ass, but it's not because of me, but it would be my interview with Tom Atkins, just because like getting to interview him was unbelievable. So it was all about him. It had nothing to do with me. I'm sorry to pick it up me and Tom Atkins, but just getting to meet him and talk to him being so open.
It was beautiful. He was so nice.
It's not fair. I wasn't there.
Best Halloween ever.
Yeah. Lane, what about you?
Like I said before, I really enjoyed the conversation that we had with Len Kabazinski.
Mm-hmm.
I like anytime we list things because it makes me be introspective and remember what my favorites are. Sometimes it's hard for me to have an opinion. I mean, I have strong opinions about some things, but sometimes it's hard for me to have an opinion about others and to be able to list things out. Anything like summer horror or just like the best of the 2000s. We did an episode of the decade. I like doing those list ones because it reminds me of what films I connect to the most, which ones are my favorites, that sort of thing.
Yeah. It's hard for me because they're all my kids. Every episode that we make is, it's just like there is a lot of work that goes into making this podcast. We record it, we find the time to record it, we review the movies, we research. John, you and Lane both do crazy amounts of research. And
mostly John, lazy,
right? No, you're not. Listen, we all got lives.
JK.
No one's paying us to make a podcast. If you're listening, you could.
That's the main question I get. Is like, how do you make money from this? I'm like, we
not
don't.
Yet. We
And they're
don't.
like,
Not
why?
yet. We'd like to, but we're not there yet.
Capitalism below me. I like just doing it.
Yeah. I mean, either way, we wouldn't be 200 episodes deep if we didn't love doing this. But if you ask me my favorite, it really is tough. I'd say it's a draw between our Rick Harper episode
That was a good one.
and our review of the movie The Room.
Oh,
Both of those episodes were like a Rick Harper one was great because we had done the Room episode. I think that might have been like episode 40 or something. It wasn't too far removed from that. So we did this review of The Room as fans, and then we interview a man who knew Tommy Wiseau really, really well, got sued by him, and is trying to make a documentary about the whole situation, the whole phenomenon in The Room. So just like all together, those two episodes like just blew me away. Literally did.
Mm-hmm.
But, I also love the fact that we've been doing these kind of list top 10 or top 5 movie because of the same reason, Lane, that you mentioned. It does force us to kind of think about, well, what movies are my favorites, and kind of come up with reasons why. Like I think when we did our top 5 movies that everyone loves but we all hate. That was a fun one to do.
I liked the opposite of movies that I love and other people hate.
That one, I mean, both of those, because they came out kind of, right after each other. They were both good.
Yeah.
Good times.
But yeah, good times. Kara asked us, where do you see yourself in 200 more episodes?
If I'm not famous, I'm gonna shit. Just kidding.
Probably.
John, what about you?
Probably hit rock
bottom. Dead in a ditch. Wow.
No, I mean that'll probably be another 4 years. So I mean, before this whole pandemic started, man, we were going places, and everything got real with this stupid pandemic. So, but hopefully, when this is over, we can pick up that steam again. And I say we're gonna jump for the moon. We might not get there, but we'll land in the stars.
I'm hugging all y'all.
I was gonna say the same thing. I'm giving everybody a hug.
Yeah.
Everybody who I haven't seen in nearly a year. That's crazy. Nearly a year. Giving you all hugs. Every one of you.
Hugs sound nice, don't they?
Yeah. I'll still wear a mask though, because y'all are gross. But I'll give you a hug.
Go back to buffets after this.
You can't.
Some things just
there's so many things that have just been ruined. No one's gonna ever want to go to a buffet anymore. It's done. Game over. But where do there is? Oh yeah. Where I see ourselves in 200 episodes after this? I really would love to see our influence over our movies and grow. That's kind of where I'd like to see us. I think when you start a podcast, you're either doing it for a couple of reasons. One is honestly that you are doing it for money's sake. We're 200 episodes and we haven't made any money off of this, and it wasn't our goal. It really wasn't. You also might do it to kind of serve your own business too. Maybe you're not making money off the podcast. Maybe you're making money off the side. We really don't have a business that we do. When I started this, it really was more or less the goal for me of, well, I want to have an audience that I could say, hey, I'm making this movie, I'm making this short film, go see it. Because that's one of the things that filmmakers kind of forget is that, yeah, you could spend all this time making a movie and all this time getting it done and editing it and everything like that, but how are you going to get people to get off their ass and go see it? And that's where you have an established audience first. But this has morphed into something that I could never have possibly imagined. Never have possibly imagined. It's become basically that thing that I said, hey, go and see. It's not just the medium anymore. It is the thing. So I would love to see us kind of grow in our influence. I really would. I don't necessarily need to make money off it. If that happened, that'd be great. We have started to put affiliate links on some of our episodes so that, hey, if you like our review of something, that you can go watch it, and that will help. And we have also toyed with the idea of doing a Patreon so that we could, at bare minimum, cover our hosting costs and things like that. Which, we don't need to necessarily make a living off of this, but if it made it so that, we could carve out a little bit of something, that'd be fine. But no, it's not for money. But I think influence and being an authority in the film genre would definitely be something that I'd want in 200 more episodes. With that, I don't think we have any more questions. I think that's everything.
Is that everything?
Ladies and
let me jump us.
I would like to.
Well, hold on a second. Oh, you mean now I can break open my champagne?
Yeah. Lane's already open, but let's. Oh,
I'm ready.
Ooh,
I didn't drink that yet. So.
Oh shit!
Oh, is it pouring out a little?
Everywhere. Yep, a little bit.
That's what she said.
I pre-popped mine.
Oh, well,
Nothing premature
it's not
over
fresh.
here.
I'm gonna. Fortunately, see, this is the beauty of working from home. The beauty of working from home is you have coffee cups all over your desk. So I already had one. I've washed out. So cheers.
First off, well, hold on a second. I would want to say first off, Brian, thank you for everything that you do on the back end of the show. I don't think that people understand that Lane and I get to have fun. You know, we get to come on and make shows that Brian does all the back end work.
Yeah.
That, you know, the episode sounds so great and everything is all thanks to him. I would say, Lane, you obviously know this, but I just want to say that you are the light of my life. I love you with all my heart. I love that I get to do this with you because you are my other half. Without you, I would go crazy. And Brian, before we started this podcast, we were the closest of friends, but I would say that for this podcast, I maintained a friend, but I gained a brother. So I love you guys, and I'm so happy we hit 200, and here's 200 more. Cheers.
200 more.
To 200 more. Thank you. Oh, that's good. You're gonna make me cry. I mean, already I'm seeing all these. Like I was telling my wife Lauren the other day, I was seeing these videos come in of people that I never would have imagined we would be talking to. You know, I never would imagine we would have these relationships with people because of the podcast. Never would have imagined that. I thought we were quite literally just talking into the void, and that maybe if people liked it, then great. But seeing all these people say congratulations on 200 episodes, seeing these people in our chat saying congratulations, it really hits me right in the hearts. Yeah, right there. And I mean, for you guys, even though, you know, I came to this show, you know, with the idea, you two have really made it what it is. If it was just me talking into a microphone, it would not be nearly as interesting. I really am a firm believer that the co-hosts of a show do a lot of the work in terms of our dynamic. And that's when people I've talked to them about our podcast and they've listened to it. They're like, man, it sounds like I'm literally sitting in a conversation with all three of you. And that isn't just me. That is you two. You know, I don't have a sister, so Lane, you pretty much are that.
And we're
you know,
apart. We're almost like twins.
Yeah, we're a couple days apart. So John, I already have two brothers, but you're an honorary member of that too. But you know, either way, this show would not be possible without your both of your contributions. It really wouldn't. Not possible at all. And Elaine, of course, you've turned into an amorphous blob on the street.
I know. There you are.
There you are.
I had to have my feelings for a second and then back.
I mean, your feelings disrupted the feed, so there you go. But yeah, I mean, thank you to everyone who's listening to this. Thank you for the people who came in on live and people who are listening to the actual podcast after the fact. Really, you all are what drives us to keep making this. You know, we wouldn't get to 200 episodes if we didn't have people who cared enough to subscribe and cared enough to tell their friends about it. So, yeah, I'm really, really in the heart there.
So many hearts.
So many hearts. Oh, man. Well, with that said.
Great episode.
Great episode. Fantastic episode.
Appreciate all the engagement from everyone.
Yeah, really. I mean, here's the thing. This is the awesome thing, guys. If you like this whole feedback thing, you can leave comments with us all the time. We'll read them on the show, talk about them. You know, I've always wanted more interaction from our audience, and, you know, maybe we have to do more live streams like this, and that's fine. We'll figure out the tech details, so it's not as bad, but either way, you know, we've got 200 more episodes in us.
Definitely.
And more so.
I'll never stop talking.
Yeah, there we go. You'll haunt us. Yeah. So, John, where can they find you at?
On the Twitter?
On the Twitter.
I think they can find me at I want to stick my tongue up your pretty little. No, not this movie. I'm sorry. The Unreal Grey Wolves.
Lane.
You can find me at LA_Croft, and I promise I'll check it.
You promise I'll check it.
I've been busy on Twitter lately, but I've been getting better.
Really? And you can find me at Brian Coddington. I also run the Psycho Show page. Well, be sure to like us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Psycho Show. You can also find us on the Epicast Network at epicastnetwork.com. If you have a favorite movie or question you want to throw away, or you want to leave obscene phone calls, you can't leave obscene phone calls, but you can leave a voice message on our website, or you can email us at cinemapsychoshow.com. Be sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcasts, and we will see you next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
By the way, I've been getting obscene phone calls all night. I mean, they've been very lovely, but you got to do something about this.
It's best to just keep drinking.
Epicast.